At the UPS Store, we know being a small business owner means holiday time is still go time. Still get those orders shipped time. And still re-up on stamps and supplies time. That's why this upcoming holiday, while others close up shop, we'll be open. And happy to help you keep being unstoppable. Come into your local store today. Most locations are independently owned. Product services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable.
This episode is brought to you by Nerds Gummy Clusters, the sweet treat that always elevates the vibe. With a sweet gummy surrounded with tangy, crunchy nerds, every bite of Nerds Gummy Clusters brings you a whole new world of flavor. Whether it's game night, on the way to a concert, or kicking back with your crew, unleash your senses with Nerds Gummy Clusters.
Are you a fan of spine-chilling tales of the unexplained? If so, get ready for an exciting new podcast experience, Chillers and Thrillers. Immerse yourself in the world of the paranormal as I, your host, narrate true stories about people's hair-raising encounters with ghosts, demons, and other eerie phenomena. In Chillers and Thrillers, I'm dedicated to bringing you authentic, bone-chilling accounts without any comedic elements or skepticism. So dim the lights, leave your skepticism behind, and settle in comfortably for our bi-monthly episodes, available on your favorite podcast platforms.
Thanks for listening to the Red Treehouse, where I tell scary stories to keep you up at night. You can listen to the Red Treehouse on your favorite streaming platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to follow, like, and subscribe. Oh, and leave a 5-star review. You can follow the Red Treehouse on social media, on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, Threads, and Facebook at Red Treehouse Pod. And now, you can find the Red Treehouse on Patreon. Join the Red Treehouse community for as little as $3 per month and receive exclusive member benefits. Simply go to patreon.com/Red Treehouse. As always, if you have a scary story or topic you'd like me to feature on an upcoming episode, email redtreehousepod@gmail.com. Important note: sources for this episode can be found in the show notes. The Red Treehouse is dedicated to my dad. I love you, Pop. To date, we've covered 26 scary games and rituals to play in the dark, over 8 volumes. These games are genuinely unsettling, and in more than a few cases, allow you to summon a spirit. From where, no one really knows. What we haven't done, though, is consider the experiences of people who have played these games. Because here's the thing. Whenever you mess with the spirit world, there is always the possibility, and maybe even the likelihood, that it'll mess with you right back. A shout out to Red Treehouse listener Tiff for the episode recommendation. In this episode of the Red Treehouse, we're going to explore 3 terrifying experiences playing 3 scary games: the Midnight Game in Florida, the Living Doll Game, and a new one, the Bathroom Game. Have you played these, or any other scary game or ritual, and experienced something terrifying? If not, would you consider playing these 3? I'll share the stories. You decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Welcome to the Red Treehouse. the midnight game in Florida. Quote, "Okay, so a while ago, a friend of mine sent me an intriguing URL saying I suggest we do this sometime. Of course, I'm talking about the midnight game, which everybody has known about for a couple years at least. For those who don't want to read all the rules, the gist of it is that you write your name on a piece of paper, put your blood on it, light a big candle, and then put both of them in front of your wooden door. As the time nears midnight, you start to knock on your own front door 22 times. The 22nd knock has to be at the stroke of midnight, and you then blow the candle out and relight it. Doing this is said to invite the Midnight Man into your home, where you must walk around in complete darkness with the candle as your only source of light. If the candle goes out, it means he's near, and you have to light your candle within 10 seconds, or make a circle around yourself in salt and stay inside of it. Other things that can happen are the room can go cold, you could hear a whisper, or even see a humanoid figure as you're walking around. This continues until 3:33 a.m., whereupon if you've done everything correctly, you have won the game. But if you lose, there are threats of insanity, or even death. A couple other things to mention. I've seen renditions of this where it is said that the Midnight Man will make you hallucinate your fears. From the experience I had from midnight to 3:33 a.m., I either think that part was not super integral to my experience, or I didn't fuck up bad enough to hallucinate. Also, it is taken as direct provocation to try to chide the Midnight Man. I'll explain my colossal fuck up a bit further down. I, like most generic Redditors, don't have any belief in the supernatural, and I like to test little things like this as a way of amusing myself. And, until this weekend, I've had zero respect for anything of this sort. I come into this never having had a genuine paranormal experience, to the best of my knowledge. Just this past Friday, I remembered suddenly when my friend told me about the midnight game. Since I wouldn't have an opportune time to do this otherwise, as I live with my mother, and she's been spending the night often at my grandparents' house to help care for them, I call Ryan up and ask if he's still in, which he replies, and this is verbatim, "Shit fucking yeah. I've been waiting for this call." Splendid. My friend, who we'll call Ryan, because his name is Ryan, picks up 2 giant-ass Morton salt shakers on the way over at around 10. Alright, Ryan is basically the same as me. Smart-assish about things like this, but still a little apprehensive of the dark, as he admitted when he told me about it. He would never do this on his own, but would totally if someone else was with him. I have to draw your attention to my back room. While that room was definitely a mess before we played the game, it wasn't nearly like that. The back room, called a Florida room, is basically a quarter of the house's square footage, so we naturally wanted to include it so we would have as much space as possible. I'll explain how it got to be the absolute wreck it is now, as I now go through the chronology of the night. All the times are roughly accurate. I was wearing an analog watch and would check it every so often. Here we go. 11:55 p.m. Ryan and I are getting our materials ready so we can write, prick, and knock all in the allotted time span. Ryan suggests that we throw the fuse, since turning on lights means losing the game. But I don't really feel comfortable fumbling around with all that. We just need to be disciplined about not turning anything with power on, and we'll be good. 11:59 p.m. to 12 a.m. We execute our name cards really well, and I end up doing the honor of the knocking. Ryan helps me synchronize the knocks, and I get it right on the dot. We blow out our candles and re-enter, lighting them again. As soon as we have both things lit, Ryan lets out a wail, and we both laugh and relax a little. 12 a.m. to 12:45 a.m. You're supposed to move around, or the Midnight Man is able to find you or something. So we creep slowly, tracing the wall and staying in the more open rooms. We start to go towards my bedroom, but Ryan says he feels like it would be too cramped. Both of our candles are doing just fine, and as Florida nights are this time of year, the house is as hot as expected. As we walk around, we talk and joke a little bit, though we were both nervous to some degree. 12:45 a.m. to 12:55 a.m. Ryan asks me if we're allowed to eat during the game. I actually hadn't a clue, and told him to go for it, if he can avoid opening the fridge, since I'm sure the light would disqualify us from the game. I actually don't know what he ate, because I forgot to ask, and was distracted by what he said when he came back into the living room. With a full mouth, he says, "When is the Nightman supposed to arrive?" And, God damn it, I wish he hadn't said anything, because I reply with, "Nightman, that's..." And in a moment, I regret more than anything. I began to sing, "Dayman, champion of the Nightman." Ryan chimes in. In an instant, both of us are singing "The Nightman Cometh" from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Doing that was the single most stupidest thing I did, because the night was not the same from that point on. 12:58 a.m. The only reason I remember the exact time is that I was looking at my watch by candlelight when the motherfucker just went out. I didn't think I could panic like such a little girl, and I quickly relighted in no more than 5 seconds. "Shit, that was close," I say, or something like that. And Ryan looks at me silently. He makes a weird face, and I ask him what's wrong. "What did you say?" he asks me, and I repeat myself. I said, "Shit, that was close." He waves his hand and says, No, I heard that." "What did you start to say right after that?" Apparently, he had heard me whispering words immediately following what I'd said. We move over towards the bathroom and the hallway pretty quickly. 1:25 a.m. We've been walking around slowly, but with a bit more purpose than before. No more joking around. Not much talking between us except necessary communication. We both feel a little more humble than we had when we started. We both start to go from my bedroom and towards my mom's room, and that's when I look to the right and into the hallway bathroom. There's a fucking figure just standing in the tub, partially obscured by the drawn curtain. Our candles remain intact, so I grab Ryan's shirt firmly and speed walk towards the kitchen. Ryan didn't even ask me what was going on. Once we got to the far end of the kitchen, I asked him if he saw it too. He did. At this point, Ryan asks me if there was anything in the rules that lets you opt out of the game. He really didn't want to continue, but he was too scared to turn on the lights and find out what happened from there. So he continued with me. I don't know what I'd done if he left. 1:40 a.m. We're staying in the kitchen and garage area, going back and forth between them, and I'm basically holding my breath whenever we go through a threshold, since I just expect to see him there. Things seem to calm down a bit, until at around this time, I realize something horrible. "Ryan," I ask, "where is the salt you brought?" I didn't ask him because I didn't know, but because I didn't want to have to say it. He answered just as I thought he would. Your bedroom. Damn it, son of a whore. We talk it over for a minute and basically conclude that we absolutely need the salt if things go wrong. We start towards my room. 1:45 a.m. Even though the kitchen and the bedroom are barely more than a 10-second sprint from one another, we don't dare do that. Any quick motion is basically just begging for your candle to go out, and I can't help but feel like running will provoke him. We inch our way towards the hall, and finally we have the same view of the bathroom that we had before. I make myself look, because I can't not. If he's still there, I want to know. And nothing. I just see a dark bathroom and nothing but that. I think that was the most relieved I felt all game, which is stupid because, as other players have mentioned, it seems like optimism is enough to draw him to you. I walk through the hallway and into my bedroom, and I can see the giant cylinders of salt sitting right in front of my computer monitor. As soon as I grab one of them, the room goes cold. Of all the fucking rooms in my house that never gets cold, it's my bedroom. My bedroom is the hottest in the house due to shitty insulation, and yet I suddenly have the urge to shiver. I turn around immediately with a salt shaker in hand and another under my arm, and motherfucker. 1:47 a.m. Two things immediately catch my eye. A, I don't see Ryan, who had been behind me up until the hallway to the bedroom. I do, however, see the glow of his candle coming from around the corner. I take a moment to wonder why he didn't come in to help me, since I only have one free hand due to the other grasping a candle. And I get my fucking answer. B, the subtlest, most disturbing bob of a head to my left, right over my bed. I swear to you all, there was a figure just sitting in the middle of my bed, and his head had just moved. Between the cold, the lack of Ryan near me, and now this man who was silently perched on my bed, I lose my shit. I run straight out the door, my candle miraculously staying lit. But I drop the salt shaker that I'd had in my armpit, and I emerge with only one of them. I expect Ryan to get mad at me, but I round the corner and his eyes are so wide that I become startled again. Go, 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 he says, right before his candle goes out. I feel awful for this, but I kept booking it back to the kitchen, turning around as soon as candlelight reappears from behind. I don't know how long it took him, but it definitely didn't exceed 10 seconds. I try to apologize to him, and he tells me that, in all honesty, he'd have done the same. 1:50 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. We decided to basically avoid the eastern part of the house, since both times of seeing him involved him in my bathroom or bedroom, and the living room was where my candle had gone out the first time. We also discussed the salt shaker situation, coming to the mutual decision that if one of our candles fails, that person will circle themselves and give the shaker to the other person to continue on. At this point, that happening is my biggest fear. For Ryan's candle to go out, him have to plant himself in the house, and me have to go traversing on my own for the rest of it. Even though we had a 40-minute period of absolutely nothing, there wasn't a single ounce of relief to come with each passing minute. Relief felt like weakness to me, and weakness felt like something the Midnight Man would see. 2:30 a.m. to 2:40 a.m. We decided to go into the Florida room for the first time all night. It extends so long across the house that I feel like there are so many chances to see him just lurking. But I feel like staying in the kitchen and garage and dining area is going to do us in. So we enter. We have a tiny bit of light coming through the terraced windows from streetlights on the avenue next to ours, but it is barely a glow. This room is still very much dark, and we do the only thing we can think of: pace up and down it slowly, hoping that the last hour or so will go well. 2:45 a.m. If you looked at the pictures I sent, you'll see that there's a futon at one end of the room. Ryan and I sat on it to rest for just a few minutes, since we'd basically been on our feet since midnight. Like an idiot, I let myself get hopeful at what time it was, how we would be done with this nonsense in a really short period, and how we survived. He's right fucking there. I look up and see the blinds parted just a smidgen, and before I even look up and see the darkened figure, I get off the bed and dart straight ahead. I run to about halfway through the room, and in the most terrifying second of my whole life, something comes crashing down on me. My overactive imagination can only assume one thing. The Midnight Man materialized through the glass slider and pounced on me like a fucking hunter from Left 4 Dead. But after a second or two, I realize that what's on me is flat and scratchy. Ryan shouts out from behind. At first I assume it's because he saw me get hit by the chunk of ceiling that had just swiped the side of my fucking head. But no, his candle has gone out again. Still holding mine, I turn, a great deal of pain still on my mind, to see him booking it towards me. "Light your candle," I yell, but he doesn't respond to that. I notice now that he isn't even holding his candle anymore, but the salt shaker. He does something that I had never even thought of. He starts to pour a salt circle around the both of us, in amorphous boundary that seems to connect just fine, and it's absolutely huge. Even though I have a lit candle, I'm inside of it with him, and his face looks absolutely horrified. A brief terror comes over me. Now I have to go play by myself for the rest of the night, which is followed immediately by a sudden realization. No, I don't. And I blow out my candle. 2:50 a.m. to 3:33 a.m. Oh Christ, I almost don't even want to talk about this part. The first thing my mind conceives upon blowing out the candle is that I made a really fucking stupid decision. This is followed by reminding myself that I'm already in the salt circle, and Ryan even says to me, Good, I'm really glad you did that." The two of us are just sitting on this disgusting floor, the salt border honestly looking like more of an acorn than a circle, but there aren't any gaps. We sit, and there is nothing but complete silence. My pupils are still getting cozy with the idea of dilating after all that candle time, but I swear I'm seeing movement over on the futon where we had been. I don't ask Ryan to turn and look with me. I just want it to end. Throughout the nearly 3/4 of an hour we spent in that cramped salt acorn, we both got chills at completely separate times. I heard a whisper, "No, no, 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 no," like a mantra for about 30 seconds. And when I look at Ryan to comfort him, I'm horrified to see that he isn't the one saying it. By the time the watch hit 3:33 a.m., we hadn't moved. We didn't leave the damn thing until at least 3:40. Both slowly and silently, we got up and turned every light on in the house. The afterward of this whole experience, I went to the bathroom to see what kind of a mark that ceiling piece had left. The piece of ceiling that fell was clearly part of an already deteriorating room. The rest of the ceiling had fallen last summer, but there was no activity back there since. The fact that another large chunk would just fall as we were playing the midnight game, right after seeing him, and right as I'm underneath it, is staggeringly horrible. It has been a few days, so it isn't nearly as bad as it was, but I have a small gash that I was left with. I've had horrible nightmares the past 2 nights. Horrible. People I know in places from my childhood. They'll be talking to me normally and calmly, and then suddenly their eyes are pupilless and their tongue is wagging, almost as absurdly creepy as the original Evil Dead, only realistic in a way that I cannot and will not describe. None of my dreams have involved the Midnight Man, but I can't help but feel like I lost. We shouldn't have shared the same salt circle, because that was never verified as workable in the rules. I shouldn't have blown out my fucking candle myself, even if I was in the circle. The circle was, as said, barely a circle. How the hell have past players managed to do a circle in the dark? I don't know if I'm being tormented or if I'm just paranoid. Ryan and I spoke again the next day, and he had a nightmare as well, but his had to do with drowning and being resurrected and drowning again. I haven't spoken to him yet today, so I don't know if he had another bad dream last night." End quote.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
Our second scary experience comes from playing the Living Doll game. Quote, "People always tell you not to play with Ouija boards. Personally, I've never bought into any of that nonsense. I'm not afraid of something invented by a toy company. Every account you hear of weird stuff happening after someone used a Ouija board at a slumber party or whatever are just due to the power of suggestion. If you tell someone that something creepy is going to happen, they'll see something creepy in everything. I'm sorry, I just didn't buy it. I also didn't buy into these stupid ritual memes that keep popping up on the internet. There are these games, I guess you'd call them games, where you go through some ridiculous set of steps, a ritual, to either speak to the dead, or predict your future, or summon a demon, or whatever. They always come with a warning along the lines of, do not try this. Then why post it on the internet, you morons? You want people to do this shit and then report on all the creepy stuff that happened, and blah blah blah. Probably the most famous one is Bloody Mary. It's the one where you stand in front of a mirror and repeat Bloody Mary 3 times, and then supposedly this ghost appears to scratch your eyes out. Why would I want to do that? Why do people do any of this bullshit? So I decided to do a little trolling. I went on a forum that discussed topics of the supernatural and paranormal. Those places are full of superstitious schmucks that will eat up anything even remotely disturbing. I posted the following. Hey everyone, have you heard of the ragdoll ritual? A friend of mine, yeah, we'll call him John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, told me about it, and I wanted to see if anyone had actually tried it. I can't seem to find any accounts of it online anywhere. That's because I made it up. Apparently, what you do is take an old doll. Any doll will do, but they say it works best if you use one you made yourself. These things always want you to make stuff. This ritual also seems to work best when performed in the month of August, but you can really do it any time, because why not? You take a lock from your own hair and wrap it around the neck of the doll. If your hair is too short or you don't have any small personal piece of yourself will do. A fingernail clipping, or even a drop of blood. I didn't really want to encourage bloodletting, but it sounded good. After attaching the personal item from yourself to the doll, wait until midnight. The ritual must begin exactly at the stroke of midnight, or else it will not work. Arbitrary rules, a must-have component. Exactly at midnight, hold the doll tightly in your hands and repeat the phrase, "I invite you, Astaroth." I did a random search for demon names on Google. To inhabit this object 3 times. After the 3rd time, you will feel the doll move in your hands. This is a sign the demon has accepted your invitation. They always have to accept, don't they? If after the 3rd time you do not feel the doll move, repeat the process. If it still does not move, the demon has not accepted your invitation. You do not need to do anything further. The ritual is over. If you receive an acceptance, place the doll inside a closet or other small space that can be closed. It is very important that you do not open the door until the ritual is complete. You may hear knocking on the door or shambling inside the closet. Do not open the door. The demon is bound to the doll, but if you allow it to roam throughout your home, it may attach itself to something else and refuse to leave after the ritual is over, because creepy. You may now ask the doll any questions you like, but you only have until 1 a.m. Sometimes the doll will answer with a voice, sometimes through knocks on the door signaling yes or no. If you do not complete the ritual by 1 a.m., the demon may be locked inside the doll forever. After you have completed your questions, repeat the phrase, "Astaroth, I release you," 3 times. Wait until you no longer hear any noise from inside the closet. Then it is safe to open the door. Afterward, bury the doll and mark the ground with the symbol of the cross. This will prevent the demon from ever returning. Sounds legit, right? Please follow the instructions exactly, as failure to do so can have disastrous results. After I posted the ritual, I kept a close eye on it. It took a few days, but soon replies started coming in. Oh my god, you guys. I tried it and the doll really does move. Please, don't try this ritual. The demon still hasn't left, and I've had nightmares every night since. Fake. Didn't work. This is stupid. I agreed, buddy, but of course I couldn't say that. I tried it, and when I opened the closet, the doll was gone. What do I do? I had a few good laughs. The story started to get more detailed, and some were actually pretty good. I don't know if these people were just delusional, or if they were playing along by making things up to add legitimacy, but it was still fun. I read dozens of stories about the ritual going wrong, and a few about how it went perfectly, and the person in question had all their questions answered. One person told of how the demon doll predicted his brother's death. It was fun, but soon it was growing stale, so I moved on to other things. A few weeks went by without me checking the forum. That is until one day when I came home from work. I went through my usual routine. I pulled off my shoes and my jacket, and when I went to throw them in my closet, something stopped me. There, on the floor, was a little rag doll. It looked to be handmade. Around its neck was wrapped a strand of hair. I would have been creeped out, but I had told a friend a while back about my little prank online, and I figured he left it there for me to find. I chuckled to myself and went on about my evening. I opened the refrigerator to grab a beer. Another little doll, nestled among the leftovers. I took it out and placed it on the kitchen counter. I had to admire my friend's dedication to the prank, though I was starting to regret ever giving him a key to my house. But that was just the beginning. I started finding dolls everywhere. In the shower, in the kitchen cabinets, in my car, under the sofa, in the fireplace. Dolls of every shape and size, some handmade, some factory. Some had hair wrapped around them. Some had little droplets of blood. It was then I decided to check the forum. I was astonished at what I found. There were hundreds of posts, all variations of the same thing. Someone had tried the ritual, but the doll had gone missing. I haven't slept in days. They won't let me. I keep throwing them away, but they always return. All night long. Knocking, roaming, whispering. Please, I'm begging you, and this is no joke. Do not try the ragdoll ritual. I can't take any more of them. When the doll goes missing, it finds its way to me. I suppose it's a punishment for playing around with things I didn't understand, didn't even believe in. But please, if you have a heart, do not try it. End quote. Our third and final scary experience comes from a new game called The Bathroom Game, written by Creepy Sir Pasta. Quote, I enjoy taking baths, soaking in the warm, bubbly water, and washing away all the stresses of the day. I have this bad habit of taking around 3 baths a day, not just to get washed, but just to have some me time. I normally take a bath around midnight, just before going to bed. It had become some sort of a routine. It just relaxes me before going to sleep. Sometimes I fall asleep in the bathtub, comforted by the feel of the warm water. The night it happened, I had just awoken from a short snooze in the bathtub. The water had turned slightly cold, and I shivered as the bathroom heater turned off, plunging the room into an icy coldness. Rubbing my arms, trying to warm myself up, I almost screamed as I heard a deep, gruff voice from underneath me. Do you want to play a game? Now I live alone, so imagine my shock when I hear a voice coming from underneath me, from the pipes. I was temporarily paralyzed in fear, but I soon got over myself and decided that the voice was my imagination playing tricks with me. It was 1:30 in the morning after all, and I was tired. A few seconds passed and nothing happened. Relieved, I sighed and laid back into the bathtub. My relaxation didn't last long, as I was once again awoken by that voice. Do you want to play a game? My brain screamed at me to get out of the bathtub right now, but my body was once again paralyzed in fear. Although I was frightened to hell and back, I was also intrigued. "What game is it?" I asked, my voice shaking. A few seconds passed before the voice replied,
"A fun game. Very fun."
The silence was deafening afterwards, as my brain processed the reply. The game sounded ominous. I didn't like how the voice pronounced the fun of the game. A minute passed so slowly that it felt like an hour. The voice hadn't said anything else, so I threw out another question. "What's the game called?" The voice replied instantly.
"The game is called the bathroom game. It's very fun."
The deep voice echoed around the bathroom, bouncing off the tile walls. I thought for a second before replying. "How do you play it?" Once again, the voice replied instantly. It sounded excited this time, though, as if it was getting excited at the thought of playing the game, which was probably twisted and evil. The voice replied,
"Do you want to play?"
"I don't know how to, though," I responded, terrifying thoughts flying through my mind about what the game could be about.
"Don't worry. Just tell me you want to play the game."
The voice had gotten louder and more commanding.
"Will you play the bathroom game?"
Worried at what would happen if I declined, I answered, "Sure, why not?" Almost instantaneously, I heard the voice let out a laugh and then say,
"Let's play."
I gripped the sides of the bathtub, shaking in terror, anticipating what was about to come.
"How to play the bathroom game,"
the voice began, talking as if he was reading from a set of instructions.
"You must start to let the bath water out, and you must get dry and dressed and have left the room before all the bath water has drained down the plug."
The voice lapsed into silence. Expecting more, I asked, "Is that it?" I thought there would be a catch or something. The voice laughed and said no more. I wasn't sure about this. There had to be a catch somewhere. "What happens if I don't get out of the room in time?" I asked, thinking I had stumbled onto the catch.
"Well,"
the voice grew quieter,
"if you don't manage to escape before the water drains, you will have every single bone in your body broken, one by one, by me."
The voice laughed another, deep, grating laugh, sending a shiver down my spine. I wanted to get out of the room as fast as possible, but that meant I had to play the game. I sighed and sat up in the freezing water, bracing myself to jump out of the bathtub. The water was full to the brim, so I knew it was going to be easy to get out of the bathroom before the water had drained. Reassuring myself that I could play this stupid game, I let the bath plug out with my foot and then leapt out of the bathtub. Quickly, I dried myself, getting that tingling feeling at the back of your brain you get when you feel like somebody is watching you. I hardly touched my back when drying myself, and I was rewarded with the voice saying,
"No cheating. Dry yourself properly."
I gulped and looked at the bathtub. It looked hardly drained. I dried myself properly and got dressed as fast as I could, getting dressed before the bath had drained halfway. I walked to the bathroom door, opened it, turned off the light, and stepped onto the landing, glancing back into the darkened bathroom. As I closed the door, the voice rasped,
"Good game, huh? We'll play again next time."
I played the bathroom game again and again, day after day. I didn't have a choice, really. One night I completely forgot about the game. It had been a bad day after all. I had spilled coffee down my new shirt. My car had been smashed after someone pulled out in front of me, and I had lost my phone at work. All I needed was some me time. The bath was only half full, up to my hips, and I wanted just to get in bed and sleep my worries away. I let the bathwater out, and got dry, and dressed slowly. That was my big mistake. The bath was completely drained in no time, and I was in my own little world. It was when I was putting my socks on that I realized that the bath was drained. Realization washed over me. I couldn't believe I had forgotten. On the other hand, I hadn't heard the voice, so hopefully it didn't think that I was playing tonight. My hopes didn't last long, as I saw a clawed, black hand coming out of the plug hole. It looked impossible, as a long arm and shoulder followed. My heart was pounding in my chest, so hard and so fast, it felt as if my heart wanted to burst out of my chest. Running to the door, I pulled and tugged in desperation on the doorknob. Somehow, the bathroom door was locked. I didn't even know how, as my bathroom didn't even have a lock. My breathing got more frantic and faster with every passing second. Eyes widening in fear, I watched as the thing pulled its torso through the plug hole. Its body was skinny and black, and its face was distorted and out of place. Its eyes were on its forehead, and its slit-like nose was to the side of its head. All of its facial features were off-center, and its mouth dribbled a black, gooey slime. I tugged harder on the door, my heart in my throat. The creature gave one last tug, and pulled the rest of its body through. The creature was grotesque and covered in black slime. I noticed that its legs were like a spider's, with two spindly legs at either side of its torso. The creature gurgled and spat out some of that black goo onto the bathroom floor. It then spoke in that deep, gravelly voice that had spoken to me for the past few days.
You lost the game. Bad luck.
It smiled, revealing row after row of sharp fangs. I screamed at the top of my lungs, almost ripping my vocal cord. I gasped for breath, tugging at the door handle in a mad frenzy of panic and terror. It crawled towards me, making slow movements, torturing me by taking its time. I wasn't playing. That's not fair. Please, please have mercy. I wasn't playing. I frantically tried to backtrack. The creature laughed.
It doesn't work like that. Once you play the bathroom game once, you have to play it for the rest of your life, until you lose.
I let out another scream, my scared animal side of me bursting out. In one last act of desperation, I gave a last tug on the door, and to my surprise and relief, the door burst open. I rushed out of the house and drove, not even paying attention to where I was driving to. I stayed at a motel for a week, just outside the town where my office job was. I could hardly sleep, as I had vivid nightmares of that creature. I awoke every night to my throat sore from screaming in my sleep, and the motel receptionist eventually kicked me out as I was awakening all the other sleepers. After I had mustered enough courage, I returned to my house. The house was deathly silent. When I entered the bathroom, there were black goo stains all over the floor. I didn't stay for long. Not long after, I moved to my parents' house whilst I tried to find a new house and put my old one up for sale. I avoided taking baths for a long time, and was rewarded with a constant stench coming from my unwashed body. Yesterday, I took a bath for the first time in weeks. As I soaked in the warm water, I tried to relax. I'm back to my same old self now, in my brand new house. Today I spent a whole hour in the bathtub, enjoying the warmth that didn't last long as my slumber was cut abruptly short by the deep, gravelly voice I had had nightmares about.
Hey you. Yes you. Do you want to play a game?
End quote. What did you think of these scary experiences? Do you have a scary experience of your own? Email me at redtreehousepod@gmail.com and I'll feature your story in an upcoming episode. Another shout out to Red Treehouse listener Tiff for this episode recommendation. As we close this episode of the Red Treehouse, we're left with these lingering questions. Have you played these or any other scary game or ritual and experienced something terrifying? If not, would you consider playing these 3? I've shared the stories. Now you decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Thanks for joining me in the Red Treehouse.